off with Giordano, 2-on-1. Michael Backlund shoots, scores!
Benning, great move. Here is Benning, shot, scores!
Comes free to Shane. Blocked by Lucic. Ran him over.
And he wins it back to Foley, scores! No way! Oh my! No way! For Fiddler, backhand to scores! Oh my!
And it is Gilmore waiting around the net, waiting.
Backstrom slides it in front, scores! Jason Chimera!
Kept in by Matthews. Here it is. Scores! 5 minutes into overtime in Game 5. And McDavid scores! Game winner! Series winner for Connor McDavid! I have been Alberta bound for all my life. And I'll be Alberta bound until I die.
Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Pete's Concrete. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and my co-host mid-afternoon here on a nice Sunday afternoon. We got Brody McIntyre with us, aka the Closer. What's going on, Closer?
What's going on? I was helping a buddy this weekend move some mulch around, so my forms are burning.
Yeah.
Now I'm on my couch, so I'm not moving for the rest of this Sunday.
And you've been busy work-wise too. Like everything on Instagram, you're either at a showing or a sold. So
it's busy, man. It's that time of year.
Yeah.
It's when you got to make your money, though, right? If you don't now, you're probably gonna have a pretty lean year.
Yeah. Is it usually for this time? Like, is it better to probably list and sell in the summertime, Broads? Is like how?
Well, it's the busiest time. It's when most people want to do it, right? Especially families. They want to get in before school starts and or even prior to that, right? Getting a little bit earlier and still have a little bit of a summer break and be able to do something. So yeah, it's generally the busiest time is spring, summer. And here we get lots of military and they usually get their orders to move springtime. So that keeps it busy as well.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. 20 plus years for you, right? Doing this?
Oh man, right at 2004. Yeah. So it is 20 years this year.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
Crazy.
So, yeah, and when you just got started, that was kind of when the last time the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup Final almost 18 years ago. But I guess as a fan, but also as a hockey dad and a hockey coach, like, what was your excitements of this exploring that and watching that again and kind of a different time and getting to watch this with your kids? I'm assuming like you probably had the kids over. If not, they're excited about it too, probably. Yeah,
we were watching a game and Dan said, "You know what's crazy is the last time this happened, Turner was in my belly." I'm like, "Oh man, it's cool, but it's also sad." And it's like, "Oh my God, he's 17, almost 18 years old, and hasn't seen a Stanley Cup Final. So either have I. So it's been fun for sure. And I like how everybody's sticking to their routines. They're getting a little crazy, right? Like you're having same foods every night. You're in the washroom, exact spot, same seat that you're sitting in. Can't muck up the routine. I've been, invited out. I started sitting on my couch for the first game, and like Rupper invited me out a couple of weeks ago. I was like, nope, I gotta sit on my couch, man. Same spot, same beer at the same time, popcorn at this time.
I'm like that too. I like where I'm recording this podcast is right where I like to watch the games. So I think you really got no stake in the game, but. Either a fan. I'm not a fan of either team, but you're also. But at the end of the day, it's hard not to get attached to a story, and and also seeing it's obviously pretty cool. We'll see what happens. It's only one game. We'll break this game down, but at the end of the day, it's always pretty cool when you see the generational talent players, the guys that are changing the game by game, and meaning Connor and Leon, have an opportunity and possibly get a chance to hoist it. Like we just shared on our Instagram today. Of all their guests that have won the Stanley Cup and just finding those pictures and posting those, it's pretty cool. And one of those out of I think there was 9 of them. We've had 9 players that have won a Stanley Cup. A couple of them won it twice. But yeah, one of them is going to join us earlier next week. So that's going to be pretty cool. It'll be a recurring guest, but it's always nice to kind of get a former Stanley Cup champion as a player on. We definitely have Craig Button and Mike Fuda who wanted in executive roles, but your thoughts on the game last night? Obviously, game 2 is tomorrow as this podcast comes out, and we'll preview that. But I know before we hit record, you wanted to kind of break down those 2 goals against the earliest start. So toss it over to you. How was the breakdown? Where was the breakdown made? A lot of people going off saying maybe that first goal was more on Hyman than anything, but where are you at on these breakdowns of these goals against that the Oilers gave up last night?
Well, you break down two, there's a lot of errors on the first one. The first one is McDavid's F3 and his guy Barkov swings instead of just stopping and staying puck side. You teach that when you're 9 years old, but McDavid's, it's a hard habit to break. A big loop as he always does, and he's in a bad spot. He's on the wrong side of the puck, 175 feet away from his own net, and that's mistake number one. He refuses to play the right way for 60 minutes. It's tough. I know he's on the ice all the time, but I'd like to see him. Honestly, it's just stopping there, Bosco. Stop, be F3, be the high guy, and you see Barkov. He's right in front of you. Instead of a big loop, and he's beat already at ringette line. His offensive ringette line, he's already beat. It's over. It's already a 3-2 because he just decides not to be in the right spot. So then he does a good job back checking. It's just a solid 3-2, nothing fancy. And, he gets right around the blue. Barkov kicks it out. And there's just no need for Nurse and Ceci to slide over. Ceci's kind of forced to make the next play, but it's a 3-2. If Nurse looks up, he sees McDavid's behind Barkov. He sees Hyman chasing the third guy. Hyman's already chasing. He's in chase mode. That guy's way behind him because they stretch. He's the weak side forward. He's standing at the far blue line. So people can say it's Hyman. But sure, he didn't skate from the blue line in, but he's in no man's land already. He was F2. It was McDavid who was F3. So if McDavid's in a good spot, none of it even happens. But yeah, so it crosses the blue. They kick it out. Barkov does the middle drive like he's supposed to. And if Nurse just stays dot lane and doesn't push out to the wall, there's no issues whatever. He can't give it back to Barkov. And then it gives time for McDavid to get back and Hyman to get back. But no, Nurse slides over. They hit the seam pass there to Barkov, who's going driving to the post. And then CC has to slide over and go to Barkov, which leaves back door wide open, right? Yeah. The other part about it is McDavid doesn't take a stride from blue line in. If he just goes balls out and sprints back to the house, stops on that post, there is no pass across, right? If he just sprints the entire way back and does that, but he doesn't, he glides back. And so it's a comedy of errors. It starts with McDavid. Nurse slides out and reaches, and then McDavid doesn't buzz back either. So I count 3 errors on that one. Maybe technically, I guess maybe you could say Hyman could have skated faster, but it's not his fault. He's in a bad spot already, right? He was already beat back. So he was F2 anyways, right? So it's McDavid's opportunity and his response. I don't know. He should be the one back there. If it was on me, if I had to pick one person, I'd say it's McDavid's fault, which is crazy to say because he's the best player in the world, but that's the fact.
If it's done right the first time, you don't have to redo it. If you get Pete's Concrete to pour your driveway, you don't need a repeat. When your patio is a PDO, you don't need a repeat. When Pete's Concrete fixes your sidewalk, all it takes is once. You don't need a repeat. And if your basement leaks, a Pete's Repair helps avoid a repeat. Get it done right the first time with the colors and textures you want so you don't have to redo it. For concrete, you can choose Pete's or repeats. Pete's Concrete.
We interrupt the 2 Mutts podcast to bring you some breaking news. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a fresh shave to a beard trim, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code 2MUTS for 20% off and free shipping. Listen, I'm a real lazy guy. I hate shaving every day. Ask my wife. I leave thousands and thousands of little stubble in the sink. It's time to tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard. Say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a juggernaut of fixin' faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths all with one guard. So no more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. That's right. Face grooming does not need to be hard. Get 20 different beard lengths in just one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can please your wife and shave in the shower to avoid all that hair in the sink. The titanium-coated T-blade is tough on hair but smooth on your face, leading to single-stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. This kit does not end there, though. They have created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim care. First, beard shampoo and conditioner, then beard oil, and finally, beard balm. The Pro Beard Kit also comes with 3 free gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code 2mutts at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code 2mutts. Manscaped. Beard hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths.
When you hire a contractor, you want things to go smooth.
Smooth as a driveway poured by Pete's Concrete.
You want a solid guarantee.
Solid as a basement floor by Pete's Concrete.
You want Pete.
Pete's Concrete. For sidewalks, patios, your leaky basement, Pete lays his reputation down with every job, and he offers you finishes and colors you won't find anywhere else.
You want someone who proudly puts their name on the work they do.
Pete puts his name in concrete.
Pete's Concrete.
So on that play closer, so when McDavid's back checking, would it be a good opportunity for him to kind of communicate on where he wants himself to be, so he knows where those 2 defensemen don't go to? Is there a way you can communicate with the player? Like, obviously in a perfect world, maybe, because I'm just saying it because we see a lot of times where more or less it's the defenseman, where the defenseman kind of is letting the play come to him, and he's kind of letting, like, he's pointing like, hey, you're getting this guy, and I got this guy. Would you think maybe at a time, maybe McDavid could be like, hey, I'm going to Barkov, so don't fish into Barkov and let the 3-on-2 happen, because it's a 3-on-2, but the chances maybe that being a goal is slim, because like, you're right, the way you broke it down is it turns into a 2-on-1 and a 2-on-1, and then it's pretty much a 1-on-1 on Verhaeghe on Skinner. Do you think it's a good opportunity for McDavid to kind of communicate that to the defenseman, saying, I got this guy, I'm going to stay in this lane? Or is that possible?
He could have done that for sure. You want everybody to communicate in general, but there's just no reason for Nurse to slide over to the wall. That's the least dangerous guy. If he stays in the middle with Barkov, then what? That guy just skates down the wall and nothing happens. Maybe shoots it from the wall. Who cares?
A shot from the wall, you're going to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if he should have communicated. I guess he could have. He could have said, I'll take the guy in the wall. You take the most dangerous guy, go onto the net. But that being said, it was a really good play by Florida, right? You want to create a 2-on-1 on the 3-on-2s, right? Separate. So now you've got a 2-on-1, which they did a great job of. On Nurse, he was a sucker. He went up to the wall. They get right back to him. There's your 2-on-1.
Yeah.
And they go in and they score.
And then, so now the second goal, more like you put it in the group chat, puck watching, stick's not in the right position for Nurse. Is that all on Nurse, or where's the breakdown in that play? Because it's a good dump in by Bennett. He retrieves the puck that he originally dumped in and then gets it out in front for Evan Rodriguez. But where are you breaking down this goal? How can this be preventable going forward?
Another stop or a better angle originally at the far blue line from Kane. He does a big, instead of kind of angling him off, he just kind of does a big swing and loop, gets a skate up right down the middle of the ice, and then he gets to the blue line-ish, and Corey Perry's standing at the blue line there, and he chips it in, and Perry swings to go to the right wing. If he just stands there and makes him kind of go around him, that gives more time for Ceci. It's a tiny little detail, but it matters, obviously. If he was one step slower, Ceci has that puck. Ceci gets beat to that puck, which it's not a mistake, right? He's trying to get to the puck. Nurse should be going back to the front. Not only does he not have a stick on the ice, his feet are facing down ice. They should be facing up ice. He should buzz back there, gets sloppy looking at the ice, so he knows who's coming in behind him. He's not in front of him. He's facing the right direction. He's fine. And if it sticks on even if he just doesn't do that, it sticks on the ice, he grabs the puck and helps to go the other way. But ideally, I'm assuming, I don't know what they're teaching them at that level. Maybe it's a nuance, a little different, but generally speaking, you like to see Nurse get back, sprint back, stop, turn, feed up ice, so we can scan and see who's coming and what's happening. Now he's protecting the net front, and that gets out. It was a really good. I can't even know who made the pass. That was a really nice pass. Just getting it out. It was Bennett. Yeah. So he did a really good job of forechecking, and then I think he just tries to bang it to the front. There's no way he was trying to bang it over top of Nurse's stick and into.
No, I think it was kind of a fluky play on that terms of it.
Yeah.
Just the way it looks like it's a really good play.
Yeah. So per Nurse again, right? He's got to do a little bit better.
Yeah. Now going forward,
it's amazing though. Like 2 mistakes, 2 goals. It's like
just like that.
I feel like in NHL now in the playoffs, every mistake is
in the back.
Like it's a goal. It's crazy.
Even kind of face-off plays, and I think out of the teams that I watch a lot, I think the Oilers have more face-off plays than, and I'm sure everyone has equal amount, but maybe it's just more open to us because we watch the Oilers a lot more than maybe we watch other teams or notice this. But there's so many different ways they attack just on an offensive zone face-off. Like you see a lot of times when they know they're having offensive zone face-off, all 5 players on the ice are having a meeting of like what's going on, and that like, it's not a quick drop the puck. It's like literally there's good conversations going on. It almost seems like every player, all 5 players are engaged in the conversation, knowing that they probably only have maybe 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds to come up with a play. They obviously have a lot in their repertoire because we would believe that this team is very good and has been very good since November 12th. But yeah, it's just interesting, like and how many goals we see off the faceoffs that throughout these playoffs and throughout this year. It seems to be more now than there has ever been before. But I
enjoy watching those. Are my favorite too. When you see a nice set play, like, oh, that was beautiful. Everybody does the right thing and bang, it's in the net.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Like one they do where I don't know, no idea what it's called. The one where they went into the point and then McDavid swings all the way around the net to the far side, and he's got a few options off of that. But that's my favorite one that they run.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good, and it's interesting because I think Draisaitl gets waved out more than any, but he also talked about that in the press conference leading into the Stanley Cup Final, is that he's always pushing it forward. So he's always kind of cheating, and that's why he's probably getting kicked out. He wasn't complaining that he gets kicked out a lot. It's just a lot of it he said is on him too, but trying to that perfect timing on offense's own draw, because obviously the defending player has to drop his stick first before Draisaitl drops his stick. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So
Bosco, I think the away team has to put their stick down first.
Yeah, sorry, the away team. Yeah. So yeah, it is interesting how it all kind of comes together in terms of like little strategies like that. And I thought that was a good rule change that could add more offense to the game, and I think it pretty much has, right? So
absolutely, I like that.
Yeah,
you're done.
Yeah, you definitely are. Okay, so let's try and let's keep with this game. Obviously, you're in the chat. Obviously, we can probably say the Oilers were the better team. Like they outshot them. The rush chances, high danger chances were higher. Obviously, Florida had more hits, but that's probably because they didn't have the puck a lot. So when you don't have the puck, you're probably hitting more because you're chasing it. But the faceoffs were 60-40. So we'll get into some maybe lineup changes in a second. But would you say this is kind of a wasted opportunity in a way? Like, I don't think we should be panicking. Any Oiler fans shouldn't be panicking. Like, played a really good game. They know that the moment wasn't big for them. I thought it was a nice touch with the Stanley Cup being nice before the game. They've never done that before. It was the first time they've ever done that. So I thought that was a new wrinkle that the NHL put in, but I hope they don't do it every game. I think it's one time right before the first game was a good one, but the moment wasn't too big for him, Brody. So, where you at as level of concern with Oilers fans? Like, that Florida's probably going to play better. That's probably the worst that Florida will probably play all series. They still got the win. At the end of the day, they got goalied. And if you have a good goaltender on the other end, you're probably going to win the game, regardless of, you have a performance like a guy having 2 or 3 goals on the other end. If your goalie stands in it, hey, he's going to win. But where are you at right now with the Oilers? I know in the chat you were kind of saying some things, but to the fans, where's your level of concern at going forward in this series?
I have about a 1% concern because to me, the Oilers were clearly the better team, top to bottom for 60 minutes. They got out goaltended, right? And that's not to say Skinner was even bad. He was fine, but the other goalie was all world. And I bet you that ranks up there for top, I don't know, 15, 20, top 10, whatever it is, of all-time performances in Stanley Cup Finals games. He was fantastic. How many breakaways did he save? 3?
Yeah, 3. Yeah, and I know they talked on the panel. They're like they could have played till 4 in the morning and they weren't going to beat him. It's just one of those games you weren't going to beat a goalie. It's not going to happen often.
Incredible.
Yeah. So you're obviously, and that seems to be the consensus. Like most people aren't panicked, are worried, but obviously, the Toronto media putting out tweets today, must win for game 2. That's obviously an interesting that now they're kind of jabbing the Oilers must win game 2. I thought it was pretty interesting. Chris Knobloch kind of biting back. He hasn't really said a lot to the media, but especially last night saying, everyone in this room gave us no chance. And we did a really good job in a performance last night. Yes, we didn't win, but we still went out there and played a really good game. And I believe what Connor McDavid said. Maybe that's a hockey gods getting them back because they didn't deserve to win game 6 and they were a better team tonight. So it evens itself out. But I thought it was good. The referees did a good job. I didn't think there's any missed penalties. The Oilers obviously led that way in penalties, but I thought there was nothing that they weren't the storyline. So that's good. So you're obviously sitting pretty good as an Oiler fan and thinking like we're sitting pretty good here. There's nothing to really to worry about if we play.
Well, there's still something to worry about. My 2 concerns are of that 1% overall.
Yeah.
One, Bobrovsky does it every game. They're done. Doesn't matter who's playing. If he's that good, they're not winning. And I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Florida to know. Like, is that as shitty as they play? Is that how awesome they play? Is that normal game they played? So my little bit of concern would be if that's like a shitty game for them, maybe there's 7 more notches for them, 3 more notches, that they're going to be that much better. So I don't know. I haven't watched enough other than highlights and 5 minutes here and there to know if that's the standard, the way they're playing or not. So if that is what we're going to get out of them and that we're going to watch on TV, then I'm more than confident the Oilers can win the Stanley Cup, to be honest.
From what I've seen, it's not like I watched a little bit more, but I think the worst game they played was game 1 against Boston, and they lost 6-2 in that game. That was the worst performance Florida had all playoffs, and the record of a 6-2 loss can easily say that. But at the end of the day, does Bobrovsky, is this like him just dialing back the clock and kind of redemption? Like he got lit up in the series last year in the Stanley Cup Final, had 11 days off. Now he had 7 days off, looking pretty fresh in that aspect. But Skinner, again, he wasn't the problem. I don't think. I can't think you can fault him on anything. So and I think the big thing going in was Stuart Skinner can't have one of his odd performances like he's had in most of the playoffs. At least one round he throws out a crap game, and I think that's done. He hasn't had a crap game since he's taken back over the net, and that's a good thing to
look. Knocking on wood right now, Bosco.
Yeah, you got to knock on wood for sure.
I'd like him to not let in another first shot. Would be lovely.
That's 4th time in the playoffs, 7 times in the regular season, 11 times this year for Stuart Skinner. So
that's crazy.
That has to clean itself up for sure. Nurse and Ceci, obviously they went back to that pairing in this game. They didn't have that. They didn't finish the series against Dallas with that pairing, but and I thought it was interesting as the game went on. Broberg got more minutes. He actually got more minutes in the last 30 minutes of the game than Ekholm, which is interesting. There's actually a sequence where there was a sequence I noticed last night that Ekholm didn't even play for about a 4 to 5 minute stretch, and he kept throwing out Kulak and Broberg, and they kept switching on. They're both lefties, but one of them was. And I know game 6, Kulak played pretty bad on the right side. He was not having an easy go, and then Broberg got more of those shared minutes last night. I think he's done pretty good. Does Desharnais come in for anyone? I wouldn't take Broberg out. He's kind of showing himself here. His outlet passes, his blocking the shot, his lining up, his gap control is pretty good. But where are you at on maybe shifting the D pairings around? Obviously, you're not going to shift Bouchard and Ekholm. Like they weren't an issue, but they were just that one stretch where I thought it was interesting that they sat Ekholm for a little bit there, and they kept putting out that pairing. But where are you at with the pairings here? Just can Desharnais get back in, and who would you take out?
I was thinking of that actually last night. You're not taking out Broberg.
No.
Right? He's been fantastic. Well, I was like, for a sixth defenseman, he's been fantastic.
You don't want to lose that confidence he has either, right?
Pardon me?
You wouldn't want to lose the confidence that he's gained for this.
No, of course.
Either, right? Yeah.
So, like, who are you taking out? You're not taking out Nurse. You're not taking out Ekholm. You're not taking out Bouchard. So that leaves you Kulak, and Kulak's been just fine.
Yeah.
As you said, other than that one little turnover and was on the wrong side, he's been the least of your issues. So, and what are you going to take out CC and put in Desharnais? I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, and I don't know if you dress. I don't know how you either, right?
You muck up the lines, sure, that's fine. Muck up the pairs, but I just don't see them taking out anybody else other than Broberg. And in my mind, you can't take out Broberg for how he played. He's been the least of you, where he's been fantastic for what he is.
Would you go 11-7 and take out Corey Perry, because Perry only played 8 minutes last night?
That might be an option.
You do that?
Might be an option, or just change the pairings up. I don't know what's Desharnais going to do. He's not going to give you much other than hit a few bodies
and block a couple of shots, and that's
He's good on the penalty kill, but their penalty kill is just fine without him as well, right?
Yeah, they haven't allowed anything with him either.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. That's a tough decision to make. Obviously, the thing is, like, it goes back to what you said, game one of the playoffs. It's depth. At the end of the day, the depth is there, and it's when you have good depth, there's hard decisions to make, right? So
yeah.
I definitely think that's.
I'd keep Broberg in though, just because of his skating alone.
Yeah.
God, he looks like he's a legit NHLer now. That's fantastic news.
I think you can safely say that. I remember Bob Stauffer talking about. He said between games 3 and 4, he went down to Bakersfield with Ken Holland and someone else, and they watched. That was the last game of the year Bakersfield played, and Broberg played 22 minutes. He was the best. And they drove back. Bob drove back with Ken Holland. He goes, Broberg's going to play some heavy minutes and some great minutes for us in this stretch. If we go to the Cup Final, his name will be talked about in terms of that we're going to be using him and needing him. And it's a good thing they didn't trade him. There obviously was somewhat of a trade request that Frank Saravalli reported that never happened, obviously. So I think he's going to be a player. It takes these guys some time to figure themselves out. And, he's turned into a pretty great defenseman, and it's pretty hard when you're just that seventh defenseman in practice and you get called upon, like you were talking about it, and you're holding your own. You're not getting exposed in any which way. Pretty much almost saved another goal on Tarasenko last night too, blocking a lot. So
great block.
So it was a good game in terms of him. So I don't know. I would be interesting to see if they change the pairings up, leave the players that all played, but maybe put him on the right side with Nurse. I wonder if that's something they'll look at. They've never played together before, but I wonder if maybe they put Nurse and Broberg together.
That's asking a lot for Broberg, man.
It is. And and I'll credit Ryan Rashog from his podcast. He brought that up. Him, Rob Brown, Jason Stradwick, and Jason Gregor are all on there. And what
were their opinions on that?
They all thought it was the right thing to do, except Rashog. Rashog said, if Kulak can't play the right side and he's a lefty and he's played in the NHL longer, what makes you think Broberg can do it?
That's fair.
Literally what you just said. He's like, I was asking a lot for him to do it, but they asked, like Chris Knobloch got asked today about the pairing. Mark Spector asked him today about the pairing of Nurse and CC, and Spec did say, he's like, the numbers we get shows that it's not a good pairing. Are the numbers you're getting different? And he obviously he's going to defend his players and said, yeah, the numbers we have are completely different than the numbers that you guys look at. So obviously he's protecting his two players, but we'll see what happens there.
And that's a Sinabra guy who runs their analytics now.
Yes, there is. Yeah. So obviously, they're the way they data their stuff is differently than maybe what they're getting from like Sportslogic or any of these other places that have the analytic numbers. But let's transition over to the forward side of things. Is there any changes you would go there? Would you try to get a right shot center in? They were 60. They did go the faceoffs were 60-40 for Florida. So the Oilers didn't have a right shot centerman. Henrique did really good. But some of the other guys got exposed a little bit. Would you try to get a right shot center in Carrick or Derek Ryan in next game? And who would you take out? Would you take out McLeod?
My only change I would like to see is I'd like to see keeping Draisaitl away from McDavid, because I found yesterday, I know they're chasing the game, they're kind of forced into it. I find it's more back to how it used to be, like when they were on the ice, it was unbelievable. And then they came off and it's just dead, right? Nothing really happens for another 2-3 minutes till they come back on the ice. At least going back to the, 1-2 down the middle, even Nuge at third line, that's what they moved him to center after they go up there. But I wouldn't even mind seeing Draisaitl and then Nuge down as third line center, which they won't do, but I'd like to see Draisaitl and McDavid not play together. Sure, they do it after a penalty kill or that type of thing, the odd end of a period or something, but I'd like to see them at least have a 1-2 down the middle for every other shift. So you're creating momentum and not just having it fall off a cliff when they go off the ice together. How about you?
And I would agree, because when on the road, you make it more easier for Barkov to worry about.
100%.
There's only one Barkov, so if he's got two of them, if you got to watch that just one line, then that's good. It gives maybe the Bennett line, kind of a better matchup for them. Obviously, you would take Draisaitl over Sam Bennett any day of the week. But when you got, Sam Bennett versus Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it might wash each other out, or the odd time maybe one or two guys get at a point here and there. But yeah, I agree. I thought it was interesting in the last 8 minutes of that game, the Oilers only got 2 shots in the third period in the last 8 minutes. So there were a few shifts where that Barkov line was out against those two, and they hemmed them in the offensive zone. They didn't get a chance. There was the one shift where they stayed out for almost 2 minutes on a 5-on-5 shift, which is pretty unheard of. But McDavid and Draisaitl stayed out for about 2 minutes in a 5-on-5 shift because they were spent 55 seconds in the defensive zone, and then they ended up they did get a chance at the end. McDavid had that one chance that was at the tail end of like the 2-minute shift that they had. But you're asking a lot in that term. So I would agree with that. I don't think the recipe is maybe on home ice it's better because you can get away from the Barkov matchup if you really have to do that.
Right.
Then like if they don't win tomorrow night, then maybe you have no choice to do that in your home ice, and then you can get away from that matchup and then you can expose it. And the Oilers are a way better team on home ice. The ice is way better in Edmonton than it is in Florida. The power play is better in Edmonton than it is on the road, knowing it's still the best, but it's just everything is a little bit more better at home for them. But and they say they don't have to worry about the series isn't over until you lose on home ice, or whatever the saying is on home ice.
Yeah.
And I do think this is a long series. I'd be very surprised if Florida has their way with Edmonton, just because the way we saw Edmonton play last night. I agree with you. They probably were the better team, or are the better team in that aspect. And again, if that's the effort you have from the Edmonton Oilers for the next 6 games, you're going to win this series. Eventually, you're going to break down Bobrovsky. You're going to break down that decor. One thing I'd be interesting to see because you saw it a few times last night, Brody, thoughts on this. Gustav Forsling has done a good job neutralizing McDavid a little bit, but anytime McDavid went to Ekblad, he beat him every single time. Would you try to attack that a little bit more when you're out with that? Like, you obviously McDavid probably going to try to do that, but how much studying are you trying to be in? Like, hey, here's 4 or 5 shifts. If you just blow them by them and you got opportunities, eventually one of those opportunities are going to go. Do you think you kind of pick on that defenseman a little bit more now? Knowing that, yeah, because McDavid's habit is to go to Forsling's side, but maybe you got to change that up in terms of going to the other side and going after Ekblad. I wonder if that's something that you would change. Obviously, that he's getting 100 miles an hour, stick handling 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And he reads the play better than anyone, and obviously he's the best player in the world. I just wonder where your thoughts on that are.
I think he'd prefer to go around Ekblad just because of the speed difference. But to be honest, I don't think look what he did to Heiskanen. That's a top 5 to 10 defenseman in the world, and he made him look like he was me on the back end.
Yeah,
right? I don't think he really cares who he's going after. He feels like he can get a scoring chance or beat anybody at any time. But I'm sure if he's coming up ice and has the choice, he would go towards Ekblad just because of the speed or differential.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing about McDavid, man, he was flying yesterday.
Yeah.
I found he almost did. It was almost to a fault, which is crazy to say too. Like that one power play at the end, he 1-on-4 basically. He tries to create something out of nothing. I'm like, okay, I know you're so competitive and so talented that you probably could do that, but that's obviously not the right play to be making.
And they talked about that with Wayne Gretzky, right? Where Kevin BX asked, I don't know if you saw in the intermission, but Kevin BX did play that clip and played it for Wayne Gretzky because he joined the Hockey Night in Canada panel for the first intermission. And he goes, yeah, he's like, you can see it on him. Like, it's like, hey, we're not going, we're going, but we're not going right now. And this is a power play. Like, I'm going to put everything on my back. And we obviously see in hockey or any sport, when you try to do that, the recipe usually doesn't work out in that terms. Yeah. You got to use your teammates and use the people around you. So,
yeah. And I'm not saying he doesn't. That was just one example of him. I know you're not saying it either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one example of you can physically see how much he wants it.
Correct.
And how much he's trying to make a difference to win the Stanley Cup, right? Which is a good thing.
Yeah. So the pregame show, I wonder where your thoughts are on this. I'm pretty interested to get your take on this. So obviously before the game started on the half an hour show, Kevin BX broke down the travel distance from game one to where it is now. So before game one, they showed 19,000 kilometers or whatever it was, but that didn't count for them just getting there before game one started. So it was around 23, and Florida had 14. Where are you at on, like, is that going to be a problem in this series, you think, knowing that there still is the 2-day break between games once game two is done?
I don't think it will be.
Because he thought it was going to be a problem for the Oilers, is what Kevin Bieksa thought. He's like, eventually this will wear the Oilers down as a series wears on.
So he thinks what was it, 5? The difference was around 5,000?
Yeah. Well, he said it was around 9,000 more, 9,000 kilometers more before game one started, because they only showed them like up until like the Dallas series. So they didn't count for the Oilers, the 4,000 miles travel to Florida just to play game one. So he thought,
I thought it was 5,000 total over that 3 rounds, but it wasn't, plus the 4 to get to Florida.
Yeah. So he thought, he's like, when you break it down and you add the kilometers that you had to leave from Edmonton to get to game one in Florida, that's another series and a half. And he's like, I think that would tax on you. He's like, I can only speak for myself. That was taxing on us when we went to the Cup final with Boston. He says it was taxing on us, knowing that we still had 2 games to close it out, and we lost in game 7. Like everyone remembers, the Canucks were up 3-2 in that series, and Boston ended up coming back and winning it in 7 and shut the Canucks out in game 7. But yeah, I wonder where you're at on that. If, like, I think the way these guys sleep and they eat and all that is much different than maybe back in the day, but kilometers are kilometers at the end of the day too, right? So
yeah, I can't really speak to it. No, yeah. Madam Double A isn't we didn't do a lot of 19,000 clips right over so many weeks and months. So if he says it will, I believe him, right? He's been there, done that. I have not. So I also think that these are the elite athletes, and whatever it comes out of the tank, we'll call it, 10,000 extra kilometers is worth, 2%. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't. And I think it actually won't, because there's guys are so dialed and so able to have so many specialists and sleep a little bit more on the plane or sleep a little bit less when you get home or after, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll affect things that much. I don't think it's going to, if 2 teams are even, one team's going to win based on that. If that's a better way of saying it.
We didn't see any of that signs last night. They were the faster team from start right to finish at the end of the day too, right?
So, and when did they travel?
They left a day early, so they left early Thursday, and they were already in Florida by 1:00 our time, so 3:00 Eastern. So like they're good early, because I remember, I was on the phone with Stoff. He was on the bus just getting out of off the airport, so I was on the phone with him around 1:00 our time Thursday. So yeah, they were probably even well there before, actually, to be honest.
Well, maybe it'll even help the Oilers in that Florida's not used to traveling as much as the Oilers are over the 82.
That's a good point too, right?
Right. So maybe it'll backfire and be the opposite, where they're like, "Holy shit, this is a lot of traveling," and the Oilers are like, "Oh, been there, done." I mean, not to that extent, but they're used to more length of more time, more traveling, more days of getting to different places, where they're just a little hour flight and they're coming home.
Because you look at it in this series, the Oilers played in 3 different time zones. They played the Pacific, the Rangers, they played Central, in Dallas. They played Mountain Time at their time, and then they went back to Pacific and, the Canucks, and now they're Eastern. So I know all the games are 8 o'clock Eastern time, second and third and fourth rounds. But Florida, at the end of the day, like you just said, Florida's been playing at their time every series up until they get out here. So
and how far is the flight to New York? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but
it's not long, right? A couple hours?
No, it's not, right? And there's less travel in the Florida series. It was done in 5. It's just Halloween Alley that they go up and down pretty much.
Yeah.
It's an hour flight. So, and then your travel between Florida and New York is probably not long, maybe an hour and 18 minutes, I would say, probably, maybe less than that or more, a little bit more.
We'll look it up while we're talking here.
Yeah, and then Boston, the travel between Boston and Florida too is probably not that bad. Like I know Florida's deep into the south, but maybe at the end of the day, 2 hours distance. But yeah, I wonder if that would be an interesting, because once they get out here, they'll be playing in a different time zone here too. So they'll where they play, they're playing at 8 o'clock their time, so they're gonna have to play at 6 o'clock. So we'll see. I don't know. That's something to keep an eye on. Maybe if it is something we see fatigue fade in, but
3 hours and 7 minutes.
All right, so not even close. Yeah, so I wasn't even
from Miami to New York. So
yeah,
call it 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish up on Evander Kane here. Obviously, he was the focal point of the conversation between media and the players, and obviously the coach today. Before the series started, we obviously know he's battling at least a hernia injury. What else is he battling? Who knows? There's obviously a knee injury that he sustained during the hit that he gave Alexander Petrovic. Used to be Petrovic, now it's Petrovic again. But there was a hit there. He only played 4 minutes in Game 6. He ended up falling in the bottom 6 last night. Started in the top 6, followed in the bottom 6 as the game wore on. Do you think there's another gear he can get to, knowing that we probably only know the one injury that he's fighting, or is it, does he have to be a real, factor here again, by being a pest and stuff? Because I really didn't notice Tkachuk last night, besides the headlock on McDavid, maybe might have been the only time. Yeah, there's a couple punches, rabbit punches, but other than that, we didn't really notice. Really didn't notice Tkachuk. So if those two guys are washing each other out, then maybe that's not a bad thing, if they're not noticing either of them. But if one maybe gets, going, then there's the other one's going to have to match that, because that's the two guys you're going to kind of compare to in that terms. But where are you at with Kane right now and what he can provide the team of what we do know?
Well, what he can and what he is are two different things, right? You'd like to see the non-injured Evander Kane, where he's running around hitting everybody in sight, getting to the net, scoring a good shot goal, right? That's what we're used to seeing. But clearly he's not able to do that because of his injury. So if his injury is bad enough, then I'd keep him back down on the third, fourth line.
Yeah.
If he can't get there and he can't hit people, can't get to the net, then he's not Evander Kane. So I'd keep him down and just fill him full of drugs and give him fourth line and give somebody else the opportunity, because I'd love to see him do more, but he's obviously injured and is not able to do that.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. Like, obviously, he was a factor in the Canucks series. I thought he was really good. He, matched, or if not surpassed what Zadorov was kind of throwing at him. Maybe Zadorov had tilted that ice to his favor at the start of the series, but as the series went on, Kane got more noticed. The Dallas series was kind of a tougher one. Like, he did have, I think, the one goal in that series, but at the end of the day, when Evander Kane is going, he's hard to stop, and he usually eliminates any players that are going against him. And
he's a good skater too, right?
He is, yeah. And he can get to the puck, he can hit, he can fight if he has to, but really at the end of the day, we don't really ever see much fighting in the playoffs to begin with, so we don't worry about that. But I think we need, I think Chris Knobloch said it the best. We are not here right now if it wasn't for Evander Kane in the playoffs, and I agree with that. But I think in terms of adding on top of that comment that he didn't say, but I'll say it, is the Oilers will need to win. The Oilers will have to win the Stanley Cup if Evander Kane is more effective than he was. Like, he can't be what he was last night. I didn't really notice him a lot, but obviously he's pretty hurt. It was the only time he practiced was Friday morning. Other than that, he wasn't on the ice at all last week leading up to it. So, and he hasn't really been practicing a lot. So we'll see how that factors out there.
Hopefully you can just kind of,
I think the days off between games will help though too. Like
Yeah,
this is the only time we have a day off, but after that we have 2 days off everywhere else.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe I think everybody thinks it's going to be a long series. Maybe by game 6 and 7, he can just leave it all out there. He's not leaving it all out there, but push it to the point where he gets surgery after, and he's just, you know what I mean, full of drugs, and let him go, and maybe he can just do it for 15 minutes a night for 2 games.
Yeah,
I hope that's the case, and then get whatever needs fixed right after, and leave it all out there because the Oilers need him, man. He's a big part of this team.
He is. I think he'll be a factor tomorrow night, which is tonight, because this episode will come out Monday. I think when we dissect game 2, we're going to be talking about Vander Kane in some good positive ways. In my
Hope you're right.
Yeah. That's kind of my key to the win. What's your keys to the Oilers win tomorrow night?
Screening Mr. Bobrovsky. 2 things as far as that. I like to see him screen more. 3 things actually. And I feel like he challenges. He's way outside the blue paint. So I think figuring out a way to get him going laterally would create a little. It's hard, obviously, to do that, and I think also having a man right up his put your butt right in his face, right at the top of the blue paint, so he can't challenge as much. And they always say a goalie can't stop what he can't see, but that's probably the best way to do it. He can't stop what he can't see unless it hits him. And then I think just going laterally, try to make him move a little bit more than he needs to, and hopefully give some, not empty nets, but more net to shoot at, right? Because when he's challenging that much, if you're trying to go bar down, the angle of that's the only way you're ever going to score. Because I heard on the game, they said he hasn't let in 1 5-hole goal.
Series, all playoffs, yeah. Sorry.
Insanity, by the way. But I think how much he challenges, if you're going bar down, they're shooting over the net because he's out so far.
Yeah.
So I think you got to get him, either have, or both, have somebody right in front of his eyes, the top of the paint, so he can't challenge, and then try to go side to side so it opens up a little bit more net for them.
Yeah. Okay. A funny thing to end out on. I don't know how. I know you're busy today working and helping a friend out, but I don't know how much you're around Twitter today. But Spit and Chicklets interviewed the girl that did the flashing today. She was on the podcast. Did you see any of that on social media today?
I saw it. You know what? I saw it on Twitter. I didn't click on it. It was only like a minute bid or something. So they were probably. It
was pretty funny because for the longest time, Wit and Biz were convinced it wasn't her. Like they were,
really?
Yeah. At one point, she was on the interview with them, and then she disappeared. And they're like, "That's not her. There's no way that's her. There's not doesn't look like her. Doesn't sound like her. There's not even like you sound." But actually, the interesting part of it was it was a guy that was recording her that she didn't know who flashed her tits. So
really?
Yeah, it was just like a random guy who was like panning the crowd and turned to her, and she was with a girlfriend, but she didn't know the guy so she was pretty emotional on Spit and Chicklets talking about it because it kind of it for her it felt really uncomfortable. So they were doing the best job they possibly can to kind of ease her mind a bit, but yeah, they were asking every single question. Are they real? Are they fake? Are you gonna if you had an opportunity to get in front of game 2, would you show the boobs in the locker room? Everything. So you could tell it was like, Biz, like not holding back, like pretty much everything. And then I think they did quite a few of their fans were able to do a little bit more investigation. By the end of it, I think they were convinced it was her because there's a tattoo on her hand that was the same tattoo on the girl in the crowd. So
there you go.
Her hair was straight in the video, but it was curly in there. But she's an oil field worker. But they're gonna try to get her out to hang out with them because the Spit and Chicken crew is coming to Edmonton for games 3 and 4. So they're gonna try to bring her to the game if her work allows it. They said. And speaking of that, I talked to Biz today. We might be doing something with Spit and Chicklets. We might. It's a big might. But
wow.
Spit and Chicklets are they're definitely, we set them up with Shatified Salon and Barbershop. So talked to Biz today. So they're all the Spit and Chicklets crew is going to go get their haircut in the Oilers dressing room where all the Oilers get their haircut because the Oilers are the official barber of Shatified too. But Biz said he's absolutely down for that. So I'm always going to take care of them. And if that does happen, we're going to see, like Biz did say yes today. So that could obviously change when they get here. But if they are, then we're supposed to maybe be with them on Wednesday. I don't think we're going to be with them, but maybe our podcast will be hanging out with them. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes, but pretty cool there. But anyways, the fact that Mo's going to take care of them is still pretty cool too. But they were in. So yeah, we'll finish up on that. Closer, anything else you want to add before we sign out here?
Yeah, check on your buddies. I just had a guy I grew up with took his own life. So yeah, check on and you would have thought he's the happiest guy you've ever met in your whole life. So check on your boys, because boys don't share much, right? They're pretty and what you see on the exterior doesn't mean it's reality. So phone a friend when you get off air, see how they're doing.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that a lot. I fought those battles myself, and my father took his own life, and I found him. So obviously that stuff hits very close to home to me and to this podcast. Absolutely. But yeah, definitely check on him. It's such a weird thing that us men don't talk. Women talk, but we just don't talk enough, and we just need to talk. And I pushed to do this today. Clay usually joins us. He's got some family things, and I just kind of was pushing Closer a bit to do this because I need to do these podcasts. They're helpful for me. They kind of stock up my cup of tea, and going to church today and stuff like that helps out. But doing these are very rewarding, and keeping that momentum going and is pretty cool. And yeah, well, we'll be doing some more podcasts and dissecting some of this. But yeah, definitely great words, Closer there. Check on your buddies, and condolences to your friend and all those have lost. We've lost to this battle here that we just need to get a hold of here. So take care, everyone. We love you, and let's keep together, keep strong, and let's lean on each other.